All right. Hello, everybody. If you're wondering why I sound the way I do, it is 6:49 in the morning when I'm recording this, because the Phillies played until 1 a.m. last night, in the only win of the series. This series was an absolute nightmare. But yeah, let's get into it. First of all, as you can tell, different camera, new microphone. The microphone I used last week. I've had a lot of difficulty with the video last week, which is why it was on SoundCloud. But now I kind of fixed that. I figured it out. So obviously you're watching this on YouTube right now, or listening on SoundCloud, or you're listening to a little clip on Instagram, whichever one really butters your egg roll. But let's get into it. So, Phillies lost 2 out of 3 in Arizona. And it was brutal. This Arizona team isn't as good as people think. Or excuse me, they are decent. They're a decent baseball team. But a team like the Phillies, who are a playoff team, need to show up in this series, and they just didn't until last night when they absolutely slaughtered this team, which was a game that was similar to game one, a game the Phillies lost. Yeah, so in this game, the Phillies go up 7-0. And then, you have Suarez on the mound, and you think 7-0's enough. With any pitcher, you think 7-0 is enough. Harper had an RBI double. JT had a sac fly and a fielder's choice. Schwarber had an RBI single and a homer. And that was the offense. That happened all in the first 3 innings, and the wheels really fell off in the fourth and the fifth inning when the D-backs batted around in both innings off of Ranger Suarez and Chris Sanchez. And I was very disappointed in Suarez and Sanchez. However, obviously it's their job to work out of jams and fix the errors that their defense makes, because Gene Segura had a pretty bad mental error trying to turn a double play, realized he couldn't turn it and tried to get the runner out on first, but by that time it was too late. And then the wheels fell off and they just got absolutely pummeled. And the thing is, and like I've been saying this all year, and this is true for years past, that the Phillies have like the big inning, or big innings in the beginning, the middle, or not really towards the end of the game. And then the offense just goes quiet. It's almost like they're just content with scoring 7 runs, which now how the playoffs work and the run differential, you should never be settling for just 7 runs or settling for any amount of runs, because that could be the difference between making the playoffs and not, or playing an opponent and not in the playoffs. So it's just something that I don't know how you fix that. The offense obviously is clicking, but consistently they're not. So that's just something of note. Something also of note, in Ranger Suarez's past 2 starts, he's thrown 9 1/3, 11 hits, 6 walks, and has a 5 ERA. He looks very similar to how he did before he went on the injured list, where a lot of guys go 0-2, and then he walks them. His stuff isn't biting as much. He just doesn't look himself right now. And of course that happens right when we need him during the stretch run of the season. And the pitching as a whole allowed 8 walks. Guys just weren't hitting the zone. And look, I understand this is the human element of the game, where you go from Philly to Arizona and play at 10 o'clock at night. I understand that. And it's just, this game they should have won this game. Like, there's no sugarcoating that. There's no nothing. This game should have been won by this team, and it wasn't. If you're, and I get bad losses like this happen all the time, to really good teams like I feel like the Dodgers never lose anymore, but teams like that, teams like, the Cardinals or the Mets or the Braves, like, these losses happen, but that's why baseball, you have to have a short memory. So in terms of pitching, as I mentioned, Ranger Suarez went 3 2/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, and then Chris Sanchez, who I've been really impressed with so far, kind of doo-dooed the bed here. Went 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Like, I really thought he was going to be able to weather the storm because of how good he's been recently, but clearly he couldn't. Then Andrew Bellotti went an inning and 2/3, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Alvarado went an inning, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout, and Brad Hand inning, 1 hit, 1 earned run, no walks and a strikeout. So it's just one of those games where it felt like that Miami game a few years ago, the 19-11 game when we go up 10-0, and then Vince Velasquez did exactly what Vince Velasquez did. And I can't believe he was on this team for as long as he was. Side note, Vince Velasquez had one good start with the Phillies, and it was his first one. And then he had like a little stretch run last season, and then that was it. That is the extent. And then he has like a 6 ERA with the White Sox this year. And talk about a disappointing team, the White Sox. But anyway, this is not a White Sox podcast, is it? It is a Phillies podcast. And then we move up to game 2, which there are 3 things guaranteed in life. It's death, taxes, and Aaron Nola not showing up when we need him to. He I was speechless this entire game. The Phillies score 7 runs in the first 3 innings of the series. I'm talking about, game 1, game 2, and then nothing until Brandon Marsh hits a 3-run home run, which good for you, Brandon Marsh. I'm a big Brandon Marsh guy. And then they allowed 21 unanswered runs. So, like, Aaron Nola, his stuff, it was just a lot of hard contact, blue pit. It was just a combination of everything. Offense went poof again. And look, I get you're going up against Zach Allen, who I mentioned in the last podcast is a very, very good starting pitcher, and I understand that. So once the score basically got to 5-0, I believe after the second or third, I can't remember, but the offense in their mind is, well, this game's over because we're facing a guy, but you can't be like that, especially during the stretch run when you need to win these games against bad teams like you're supposed to. And it infuriated me that, I'm still like mad about game 1. And then you show up this dead in game 2, not even putting up good at bats. Only Marsh, Vierling, and Segura were the only Phillies to record hits in this game. And yes, I understand JT wasn't in the lineup. And Castellanos is dealing with a toe injury. I have that in my next note, but you need to show up with the guys you have, and they have been doing that all season. But we needed Nola to be competitive in this game. We needed a Nola that pitched that complete game shutout last start. Well, maybe not to that extent, but that Nola that went 1 inning, eight innings and 1 run against the Mets or something to keep us in the game, and he completely blew it. And obviously, it's not his fault. But 4 innings, 10 hits, 8 earned runs, no walks, and 5 strikeouts is not a good slash line for a guy like Aaron Nola, who's arguably a top 10, top 15 pitcher in baseball. And I get they have some of these starts, and there is the human element, like I mentioned, where you're going from Philly to an East Coast to down there, and you're tired. Pardon me, like I am right now. But I have dubbed the Arizona Diamondbacks, and this is actually the name of the episode. So you're ready for the mic drop here. The Diamondbacks are the new Marlins. We figured out how to beat the Marlins, only for the Diamondbacks to come in to their place. But only in their godforsaken stadium. They play like a AAA team down there. They just forget how to play baseball, and I can't explain it. They haven't won a series there, I believe, since 2016. So anytime you see they're in Arizona, you can automatically chalk it up to a losing 2 out of 3, getting swept. I don't know how you go into a place like that against a bad Arizona team and show up so dead and so flat. It just doesn't make sense to me. But hey, what do I know? Pitching, like I mentioned, Nola, Coonrod went an inning, only allowed a hit, a walk, and a strikeout. Brogdon has been good, and I'm glad to see Rob Thompson using him in lower leverage situations, so that way he can build that confidence back, and it looks like he is, which is very nice to see. Robertson went an inning, a hit, no runs, no walks, no strikeouts. And Nicky Maton, Nicky Six, went an inning, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, no strikeouts. I mean, can't believe that pitcher Maton's still on this team, right? And then we finally win. The Phillies finally won a game in Arizona, and they kicked the hell out of them. We don't curse on this podcast, at least not yet. But we finally won a game. Finally, everybody hits. All the starters had 2 hits. They won 18-2. It was unreal. Where was it? I mean, pardon me. Okay, let's break it down. Because this is the only positive I have. The player of the game was Bailey Falter. He has been incredible stepping into Zach Wheeler's role. And it raises a lot of question marks when he comes back, because Falter, since stepping in for Wheeler in his past 3 starts, has a 2.49 ERA and 18 and a third innings pitched. Like, you can't disregard what he's done and the success that he has. Pardon me. And oh my God, we're professional over here. I'm sorry. Oh my God, there it is. Now I won't do it again. And I'm glad everybody else yawned as well. But and it begs the question where, when Wheeler comes back, do you move Ranger to the bullpen? Because he seems to not be able to go long of recent. And then do you have a rotation of Wheeler, Nola, Thor, Gibby, and Falter? Maybe. I can't. Like I said, you can't ignore what he's doing, and I feel like if you throw him in the bullpen, he's going to lose that success only because he's stretched out as a starter. You could slot him in for spot starts to give guys an extra day rest. But I feel like you're not utilizing the success that he's been on recently. So that's just something to keep note of. For me personally, it's kind of, I don't know. Ranger hasn't been performing, and this is the most innings he's ever pitched in his career. So maybe moving him to the bullpen might be a good idea. Especially, you can never have too many lefties in a bullpen. And the only concern about that is you'll have 4 at that point. If Chris Sanchez stays up here as a lefty logman, you'll have Brad Hand, who's been incredible, Alvarado, who's been incredible, and then you had Suarez. That, it's not a terrible plan. But he's probably my number 1 guy. If they're going to move somebody for Falter to keep him in the rotation, he's probably my number 1 guy and my number 1 candidate for that. Harper just continues to pick up where he left off. I feel like he did not skip a beat at all. Usually when guys come back from that long, their timing's off, but he looks so locked in. Like, I can't get over the fact that people still think he's an overrated baseball player, where if you just watch him at any given point, he is just unreal at baseball. Hoskins might be going on a hot streak, had a few hits last night. The one should have been a homer, but for some reason, the right field, corner at Arizona is like 15 feet more than the rest, which, yeah, that makes sense. Castellanos, like I mentioned, has that toe injury. He didn't play at all in this series, and maybe that's why, the offense didn't really struggle. Only struggled in 1 game, and that was against the one of the best young pitchers in baseball. So just something to monitor. I haven't really heard any updates from Rob Thompson or Dombrowski about his injury and the extent of that. So that's just something to keep note of. Garrett Stubbs had an RBI double, and this is my official plea. Um, I'm going to talk right to the camera. Hi, Garrett. My name is Jared. I'm part of .NET Phillies, and I would love to have you on. Just talk about life, man. I really respect you. I like the way you play baseball, and I would just love to sit down for a few minutes with you over Zoom, of course, to make it easy on you. And just talk about guys being dudes, and then that's where the clip's going to end. That's my official plea to Garrett Stubbs to come on the podcast. And Alec Boehm, honestly, I love his turnaround this season. It's been great to watch. And I love that he's really being the guy we thought he was going to be. Defensively, he's basically average. He was extremely below average. And he's just been solid over there. And he might just have one of the smoothest swing in the league. He's just I love the guy. Going from I bleeping hate this place to now you're hitting 300 and playing solid defense. And you got to remember, he wasn't even supposed to, there was rumors that they were going to trade him, with Bryson Stott. You had Didi at shortstop, and thank God he's not there anymore. But I'm glad that didn't happen. And he's just been awesome. Now you move to the Giants. The Giants have lost 7 straight. So for a fact they're going to take 2 or 3 out of from the Phillies. No, the Giants are a shell of what they were last season. And you need to take advantage of they're down right now, like they're really hurting. And you need to go in there and assert yourself as that team that is going to continue to just beat them down. You can't let them get a glimmer of hope. And obviously in the wild card, they're back. They're under 500. So, they're not exactly an immediate threat, but it's a team that you need to just take care of business, like I said, with Arizona, and they should have, but they didn't. And you need to go in there, take 2 or 3, sweep another stadium they haven't won in a while, but as long as you just look competitive and you don't blow all these leads and all that stuff, we'll be fine. The sky is not falling on this baseball team. They're gonna be fine. There's nothing to worry about. They're a good baseball team that just had a bad series. It happens all the time. Remember, the Dodgers are 1-5 against the Pirates this year. So let's relax here. Yeah, it was just a very frustrating series, but go to San Francisco, take care of business. I'm glad there's some day games in there, so I don't have to stay up until 1 a.m, which has been very frustrating. But go to San Francisco, take care of business. We'll be good. Thank you all so much for listening, for watching, for, supporting me, all that stuff. I really appreciate it. And I'm very blessed to be doing this right now. And that's gonna do it. I will be here on Sunday, probably Sunday night, to recap the Giants series, and hopefully we'll be talking about a win, 2 out of 3, or even a sweep. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.